So I had a lot of people. I've been doing Go now for almost 5 years now. And during that time, I've shown up at usually a lot of Ruby meetups telling everybody, use Go! Which, by the way, is really mean. Don't do that. Like, don't go to other people's meetups and tell them that they're doing it wrong. I do that. That's my job. If you start doing that, then I'm out of business. That's no good. But I'd show up, and these people would say, okay, Mark, you love Go. What do you use to build web apps? I said, well, you just use Rails. And they're like, well, that seems counterintuitive to your statement of Go is amazing. And it is. But this was me, honestly, up until this year. And then this happened, Buffalo. The question is whether the logo came first or not. It did. No. So, yeah, well, let's talk about Buffalo. Buffalo is an ecosystem for rapid web development. Is it a framework? You might say that. I won't, because the word is taboo in our industry for some reason, or at least this community. The word framework is like a kiss of death for some reason. I was talking to Steve again about this the other night. Steve wrote Cobra. Who uses Cobra? Right? It's excellent. It's excellent, but you know what it is? It's a framework. And Steve said that when he first published Cobra, it was like, why would you need this framework? Just use the standard library. We have the flags package. It's like, well, have you ever tried to build a complicated CLI tool using just the standard library? Kind of hard. Not going to lie to you. So Buffalo, I like to consider an ecosystem because it's not just about the Buffalo package. Matter of fact, the Buffalo package itself is not overly big. And that's important to remember. What it is glue around the best parts of Go and the best parts of what the community has had to offer for Go. We take the stance of we'd rather not have to write it ourselves. We want to use the Gorilla Mux router that is battle-tested and everybody loves, right? I don't want to write a router. You don't want me to write a router. I can't even say write a router. Oh, I said it that time. Maybe I can build a router. Who knows? Buffalo takes all this stuff and just kind of gives it to you. We found the best packages, and I'll talk about some of them in a minute, to do all these things for you so that you can roll an app out in a weekend. And those people coming to Go for the first time can have that positive experience, that welcoming experience that they had the first time they went to Rails, for example. I remember going from Java to Rails back in 2005. Actually, fun fact, I quit Java in 2003. I quit development. I rage quit development after writing 100,000 lines of XML. That is not a joke. 100,000 lines of XML. I rage quit and worked in a recording studio for 2 years. And then I was out, and then someone introduced me to Rails, and it was magical. It was like, oh, look how welcoming this is. Like, I can get something out fast. And that's what I want. I want to just start coding. I don't want to spend time figuring out all these pieces, right? As a consultant, as a business owner, as a human being, I need to just get to market. I just want to get my stuff out there. I don't want to spend weeks rolling my own custom router or my own templating system or figuring out how to run migrations against my database. I want somebody to figure that all out for me. Somehow I became that person, which is kind of terrible. This is an important slide, and one I really want to drive home when we talk about Buffalo. Buffalo is extracted. It is not imagined. And that is important. Whenever you're talking to anybody about their new framework, their new library, their new tool, if they imagined it, if they sat down one day and said, you know what would be nice? A package, a library, or framework to do X, Y, and Z, don't use it. Because it hasn't been used. It hasn't been tested. Someone, yes, who was it? Was it Matt? Was it you yesterday who said, like, just hold on to it, like, don't release anything publicly, like, play with it, learn it, right? And then you can release it publicly. And that's what happened with Buffalo. Buffalo is years old in a lot of ways. And I spent a year working for a company building an enterprise application for them that needed to be installed on-site. They didn't know what the database was going to be, so they needed support for MySQL, Postgres, SQLite. They needed to be able to ship a binary, no other files, no templating files, no JavaScript files, a single binary. They need to be able to send it to them and say, here are a couple commands on that binary, run them. And that's where Buffalo really took shape. And then in December of last year, I was talking with Brian Kettleson, and I can't remember how the conversation came out, but I said, oh, let me show you something. And I showed him Buffalo, and he's like, oh my God, you absolutely have to open source that. You need to publish that. And then he scheduled me on Go Time, like for 2 weeks later. He's like, you get 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks to bang this thing into shape. And that's true. And has anybody heard my Go Time episode? Couple people. More of you should, because it is the highest rated Go Time episode. It is. And it's live from a Dunkin' Donuts, which has a story to it. But anyway, Buffalo has 2 goals. And the first one is incredibly selfish. I'm not going to lie to you. It's to let me write applications as fast as I can in Rails. That is 100% the first goal. I consider myself to be the primary user of Buffalo. Actually, I consider Brian Kettleson to be the primary user of Buffalo. I think he's pushed more production Buffalo apps than I have. You write one a week, I think, at this point. Yeah. But for me, that was the original impetus, right? I want to be able to write apps as fast as I can in Rails. The other one's a bit more altruistic. I want to make Go more accessible. And I think the web is the best place to do that. And why do I think that? I know there are more web developers in the world than anybody else. Well, not anybody else. There's a lot of Chinese people. Probably more of them than web developers. I'm almost positive of that. I'll check later. But no, there are more web developers than any other type of developers. That's probably a better qualification. And that's a big world. We've got between 500 and 100,000 and 1 million Gophers right now. Right? We can easily double that, triple that by bringing in people from other communities who are used to writing these web apps. We can pull those Rails folks in. Matter of fact, someone the other day on Twitter said, I was just about to give up on Golang, and then I found Buffalo, and it's almost like a conspiracy to make Railsers Gophers. I was like, no, it is a conspiracy. That's absolutely the point. We want to get more people in Go, because I want a bigger community. I want conferences like this to thrive. And we're seeing this. We're seeing more and more conferences every single year, which is awesome. But we can make this thing go through the roof. And what do we get with a bigger community apart from more information and more diversity and better libraries and better packages? We get more jobs. Who here writes Go full-time for their current job? Not enough people, right? Not enough people. And you know why? Because we need more Go developers. If we have more Go developers, companies will take more of a risk on Go. And it's not really a risk, as we know. Go is amazing. You're not here to be sold on Go. You're already paid for your ticket. Or you stumbled in off the street. Ernesto. But yeah, companies will take more of a chance. And they'll say, OK, look at all these developers out there. And they're all doing these amazing things. We should start doing that in-house. So more jobs. Bigger community means more jobs, means less not writing Go. And that's awesome. I am down to one Rails app, one Ruby app I have to maintain, unfortunately. No, I love the app, but I want to write it in Buffalo, but it's 3 years old and I can't. But I'm down to that, and that's an awesome feeling, to not have to deal with Ruby anymore. Nothing against Ruby, but I really love Go. So really, what better way to grow Go, I think, than through the web? So, with that said, enough evangelizing why I think Buffalo is important to the community. Hopefully you feel the same way. Hopefully you can see that as a community we can take this project, and it's not my project. We've got a lot of great contributors, and I want to see more contributors, but we can take this thing and we can make it big, and we can grow this community in a way that we've only just kind of touched the surface on. So that's the why of Buffalo, if you will. Let's talk about the what. It's probably what some of you are here to see. The what of Buffalo. Buffalo is a batteries included framework, and we've heard this phrase before. But when I say batteries included, I actually mean all of the batteries, not just the Go batteries. And that's an important part of what Buffalo does. Here are some of the included batteries, for example. Gorilla Mux for routing, Plush for templating, Pop for database, Webpack and Yarn for our asset pipeline. Deployment, we've got things like Docker, and Buffalo Build, which we'll talk about. Testing, we got Go, we got some Testify in there. Task scripting, if you've ever used like a rake in Ruby before, we've got an amazing system called Grift, which lets you use the phrase, I ran a grift today. No? Okay. how I name things, based on puns. Never mind. Okay, internationalization, sessions, the whole 9 yards. If you don't like the included batteries, that's fine. Just use your own. There's only one included battery that is absolutely required, and that's the Gorilla Mux router. But if so that's the only one you absolutely have to use. But if you don't like your own, use the other. Get rid of them. A lot of these have flags, so just turn them off. You don't want Webpack, turn it off. You don't want Docker, turn it off. You don't want Plush or templating, you use the API flag, and boom, you're just dealing with JSON stuff, right? There's lots of customization here. We are not forcing you to use anything except for Gorilla Mux. But with that said, understand that if you change out some of these pieces, some of the built-in generators may not work for you, as they kind of have expectations of what you're expecting to do. But for example, and I don't expect you to read this code, you can replace the templating engine by implementing the template engine type. It's just one function, takes 3 arguments. You can create your own renderers. It's an interface with 2 functions, very simple functions, and so on and so forth. But let's talk about development. What's the development time like? For me, Buffalo is all about developer productivity. That is the #1 metric I base Buffalo on. How easy can I build my app? How fast can I build my app? I got into an argument with somebody on GitHub the other day because they wanted benchmarks on like the router and stuff. I'm like, it's the Gorilla Mux router. Go look at their benchmarks. And they're like, but what are you adding on top? And I'm like, does it matter? You get 2 millisecond response times. It doesn't matter. It's fast enough for you. For me, the development speed is the benchmark that matters. And we'll do this. I'm actually going to build an app, and we'll deploy it to Heroku by the end of this talk here. We offer a ton of commands. Buffalo is not just a package, it is a tool chain. And that's why I say it's an ecosystem. The Buffalo binary has so many subcommands and so many subcommands off those subcommands to do insane things. Now we have plugins where you can write your own subcommands for Buffalo and plug them in. We'll see that with my Heroku one later. But the Buffalo dev command compiles, starts the application for you, watches any assets and rebuilds them if you're using Webpack. So as you change your style sheets and JavaScript, and by the way, its default configuration is ES6 and SCSS and jQuery and all that stuff is kind of ready out of the box. We do production minification, uglifying, and stuff like that for you. Static assets are served from disk, so there's no recompiling of Go file. Like, if you've ever used things like Go bin data before, where you have to keep compiling every time you make a change to something, we don't have to do that. They're all served from disk until later. If your Go files change, we watch them, we recompile the application and restart it for you. So that by the time you hit save in Vim and you tab back over to your browser, your app's already restarted, you can refresh the page and there are your changes. We even show you a web page if there was an error compiling your binary and tell you what the error is. We go out of our way to make the developer experience amazing for you. Deployments, this is another key thing. We want to be able to deploy our apps quickly and fast. One of my favorite ways is Docker. And if you generate a new Buffalo app, for example, you get a file that looks like this. It's a multi-stage Docker file. And that's all you need to compile and deploy your application. Or you can use the Buffalo build command, which is kind of cool too. Again, builds assets for production if you're using Webpack. Bundles your templates, your assets, your migrations, anything else, any other static content you might have into the binary. All there in one command. Auto versions the binary, installs the SHA and the build time into the binary as well, so we can query the binary. We can run migrations off the binary. We can serve the app off the binary. That's kind of an important one. It supports all the Go tags, LD flags, environment variables, everything like that. Entire tool chain. It is one binary to rule them all. No? Okay, whatever. I don't want to be here either. No, we just tell the organizers we had a talk, and then no. Okay, let's do a little demo, shall we? So for our demo, we're going to bring up someone from EA to demo their really boring game for the next 10 minutes. So let's start a new application here. So Brian Kettleson's name just popped up. Bigger? How's that? Okay. So there we go. It's the Buffalo new command. All apps start with a Buffalo new. And you can see we've got a ton of flags here to skip yarn, skip webpack, skip pop, Docker, you can do none, multi, standard, database type, Postgres, MySQL, SQLite. You can skip that entirely. You can do just the API, which makes it just a like JSON API and gets rid of all templating and fun stuff like that. I don't know why you would, but you could. But let's create a new Buffalo app here called Golang UK. That sounds good. Here we go. This is going to go get a few things. Go imports, dep. Oh, we have a console in Buffalo. So you can do Buffalo console and get in there, and you can talk to your models and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. And the console's getting a big rewrite as well. We're not going to keep using Gore. We've got a big rewrite in the works here. So now I'm just installed a bunch of front-end packages here. There we go. I've created my whole application. I've created a ton of files. I've actually done a git init. And if I go into the application here, was it Golang UK? Not Golang. There we go. I can't type standing up. Why do they make people type standing up? This is what your default Buffalo application looks like. Hard to read in the back, but you shouldn't have sat in the back. Plenty of space up front. I don't know why you'd be back there. Yeah, we've got a couple dot files here, but we've got actions. This is where all our handlers are going to go. This is how we're going to handle all of our requests. Our assets, this is where our style sheets, our JavaScripts, our SCSS, our images, whatever we want are going to go in there. Our grifs, these are these little tasks we get to run here. Locales for internationalization. Models for our database stuff. Node modules, because it's Node. I don't know what they put stuff in there. Don't look, it's scary. Public folders where all your assets get compiled, and then templates. That's where all of our templates go. So first thing I like to do, well, the first thing I usually do, well, I don't do because I'm awesome, is configure my database YAML file to talk to my database, make sure that it's set up correctly. So if we look at that here, for me, this is 100% set up correctly, surprise. It works fine on my machine. But yeah, you configure your username, your password, your hosts, all that sort of stuff. And once you've done that, you can run the nice db create-all command. There we go. Now I've created my production, development, and test databases. All created for me. I could start my application here. There we go. It started on port 3000. And if I go to port 3000, my assets have compiled. There we go. Woohoo, a Buffalo app. Fantastic. Be pretty boring if that was it, though, wouldn't it be? But this is kind of interesting. I love this feature. This is just the home page, but we can show this on the console, too. I'll actually show it on the console because I think it's cooler there. Buffalo tasks routes. Here we go. Here's a list of all of our routes. Method, get, slash, there are no aliases for this route. The helper name that you can use in your templates, there's route path. And this is the handler that's actually handling that, which is kind of cool. So I can just very simply look and say, who is handling that particular thing? And it gives me the actual like full path name to it, which you won't see in a lot of other places. Okay, so we've got an app running here, but that's not that interesting. Let's actually do something here. Let's do some database stuff, shall we? Yeah. I love your enthusiasm. You're like, yes, Mark. Let's create a new resource. And we'll call this widget, and widget will have a name, and it'll have a body, which is of type text. If I run that, here we go. I've created a whole bunch of code. I've created actions, an entire set of CRUD actions to handle my resource. I've created a whole entire set of templates to handle my resource. I have also created models to handle my resource. I have created migrations to handle my resource. And now I can run Buffalo DB migrate. There we go. I've created my database, my table in my database. And if we go back here and restart, there we go. Starts up everything here. I go back. Okay, now I have a whole bunch of widgets stuff in my routing table. If you don't believe me that actually exists, and we'll look at some of this code in a second here. Here we go, here's my widgets. And I can create a new widget. And if I hit save, ooh, I even get validation errors, fancy. Fancy pants. Hello, world. Nice to see you. There we go. I could save it. Voila! A database-backed widget. Fantastic. Did that in about, what, 10 seconds? Not even, which is pretty cool. We got all sorts of nice log output here. But let's actually look at some of this code, what actually happened there. Most of the stuff that you're interested in is going to be in Actions, your Actions folder. And here is the Actions app folder. The Actions app. This is where most of your life lives in a Buffalo application. You create a new Buffalo application, you give it a few configurations. By default, we have two different types of Buffalo applications, automatic and standard. Never use standard. It's a stripped-down version of automatic, and I don't know why you would use it, but we have it just because. We had some middleware, like the session saver, so we automatically save your sessions, so you don't have to keep doing it in your code anymore. Parameter logging, CSRF, middleware, kind of all set up for us. I like to wrap all my requests in a database transaction. You don't have to. Internationalization, handler, asset handler, and then finally our widgets resource right down here at the bottom. So all that was generated for us by Buffalo, by the generator commands. But you own this code, and that's important to understand. This isn't like Goa or something like that, where you have to keep continually regenerating stuff. Once you gen it, that's it. We're kind of like, here is the base for you to work with. This is your application, not ours. Do what you need to. And if we look at the widgets, if I can spell widgets, widgets go. Here we go. This is the action. This is the resource that we generated. As you can see, here's some nice list information. So we go, we get all the lists. We have pagination set up for you by default. So we can paginate all your widgets. But you go in here and you change this and you do this, you build your business logic. We're just trying to get you started. We want you to have that beautiful win, remember? We want you to start getting to your business logic as fast as possible and giving you as much information as we can to do that. And you can go through and you can see all the other fun stuff that's happening in there. And then we have a widget model somewhere, if I can type. There we go. Here's my widget model that was generated. UUIDs, you can use ints, but I recommend UUIDs. I think they're better for a lot of reasons. We've got auto-manage, created and updated ats for you. There's our name, there's our body, some nice string stuff, a collection type. We even try to start adding validations for you based off of what you typed in that command line. Because you said that you wanted a title and a name and a body, and you didn't say that they were null types. So we say, okay, well, they obviously have to be present. That's where those validation errors came from. And then you can go down, there's different validations for different action types, like if you've saved it, if you've updated it, that sort of thing. And now let's look at templates new. Here's our new page for our template with this lovely Form 4 helper here, for anybody familiar with Rails. This is the Plush templating library, by the way. Hands down the most powerful templating system. Brian's going, oh yeah. No other Go templating system is this powerful. And I really, truly, I'm saying that not just because I wrote it, but that's part of it. Hey, it was named after an awesome song from the 90s. What? STP. No. So here's our form for a widget, and it goes to the widget's path, and it's a method type post, and we've got a partial support here. If we look at the form for it, here we go. We got nice things like input tags and text areas and all sorts of stuff. And this handles all of our CSRF, all of our error handling. If we go back to, say, edit a widget, and we inspect the HTML, let's not do that. Let's do view source. Is that still a thing? View source? Do people still view source? Maybe not. No. Right click on the page. Yeah, see, look, it's, oh, show page source, not view page source. Oh, it's still the same damn inspector. That was lame. There we go. And go away. How do we go over to this side here? There we go. And there we go. That's what I was looking for. Just to give you an idea of the generated form, you see it's got IDs and methods and the authenticity token there, which is our CSRF token somewhere. I think it goes off the screen and all that sort of stuff there. Yeah. So this is all built in. This is all free for you to just go and use. and do with as you please. But this isn't enough, right? How are we doing for time? We've got 10 minutes? Someone? No? 10, thank you. I'm just going to keep doing this until someone responds, because this apparently means show me the time. I know sign language. That's not true at all. Let's actually deploy. I clearly don't know anything about sign language. Let's deploy this app, and then we'll do some more fun stuff with it, hopefully, if we still have some time here. So I am going to use the Buffalo Heroku plugin. I know. And have you used this yet? No? And if I do Buffalo Heroku setup, here we go. It's going to start creating a Buffalo app, Heroku app for me, set the Go env to production, set a session secret for me. It's creating a database for me. It's setting up SendGrid for me, because typically when I set up an app, I want all the bells and whistles, Redis and that sort of stuff. I could have skipped some of this stuff, but anyway, this is an unofficial plugin. This is a plugin, by the way. But I didn't want to sit here and type all this stuff out while you watched. There we go. Okay, so it's set up Heroku for me. It's building my Docker container that was generated for me in Buffalo. And now it's doing Yarn stuff for all that JavaScript I've added. It's linking dependencies, building fresh packages. It's sad that the asset stuff takes so much longer than the Go stuff. And we're almost done there. There we go. Okay, we are making sure we have all of our dependencies. We are building the binary here. Now we're in the Buffalo build world here. I'm going to build a statically linked binary with the -- static flag. There we go. It's building everything. There are all assets got built. Production. Great. Now we've moved it into Alpine. We're using multi-stage Docker here. We are pushing to Heroku. Hopefully. Pushed. Come on. Come on, Wi-Fi. Here we go. We're running our migrations on Heroku. Remember, this is actually all happening inside an Alpine container that has just my binary in it. It has 0 other files. There we go. I've migrated my database. Here's my database config. It's going to open up my brand new Heroku app here. Ooh, look at that. Right? Come on, that's pretty cool. And then I can go to my widgets. There we go, and I can create a new widget, and this is all working just fine, right? That's an easy, pleasant experience for anybody. Probably not the experience you had trying to write a Go app for the very first time. I've generated a ton of code, admittedly, but writing this code is not that complicated. If we go back really quick to the home handler here, this is a pretty good example of what a Buffalo handler looks like. They're really simple. And whether you agree with the concept of them being simple or not, we can definitely take that offline. Florin and I have had long discussions, both online and offline, about this not being a kind of standard Go type, the standard Go handler. But the reason it's not is because we're trying to make this as easy as possible for everybody. Absolutely as dead simple possible for new people coming in. And this is as simple as we can possibly get it. You have a handler, you take a context, you return an error. And we will handle the error for you. We give you ways to handle the error on your own, and you can easily plug in your own custom error handlers, but by default, we've got your back. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the one you're with. Here we go. Oh, this is production, isn't it? Let's look at, this route shouldn't exist. Here we go. Here's what an error looks like in development mode, for example. So invalid type for UUID, that's not a UUID, I can imagine that. But we can see the whole stack trace here. We can see what is currently in the context of this request. What are we looking at? What parameters did we get? Were there any form arguments? And what routes do we have? Because maybe this is a 404 page. So again, it's about development. We are trying to make your life as good as possible by giving you as much information as we possibly can as to what went wrong and why it went wrong. And then we've only got 5 minutes left. So I'm actually going to stop it here and take just 5 minutes worth of questions. There's so much more I can show you, but I highly encourage you to go to gobuffalo.io. There's tons of great docs. If you're looking for a good PR, docs are always a great first PR. The blog.gobuffalo.io. I've got insane amounts of video and blogging content. I actually have an entire 20-minute video I need to post about writing custom helpers in Go that I posted in the Slack channel. We have our own Slack channel, the Buffalo Slack channel. I posted in there the other day, but it still needs to go up in the blog. So check that out. Go to the Slack channel. Tweet me. I've got stickers, by the way. Awesome Ashley McNamara Buffalo stickers. And magnets. Ooh, no one else is giving you magnets, people. Revel isn't giving you magnets. Bigo's not giving you magnets. Iris definitely ain't giving you magnets. They'll take your magnets. No. I really shouldn't have said that, but sorry. No, I didn't mean to say they. He will take your magnets. No, too far? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. Okay. So we got time for just like a couple questions. Are there any questions? Right here in the front, because I can hear you.
It might be an unpopular question.
It is.
But is there a MongoDB?
Is there a MongoDB plugin? That is an excellent question. Pop does not support MongoDB currently. I would love it if it could. I don't know if it can or not. However, you can skip Pop and bring Mongo to the table, but what you don't get is the generators that we have won't work for you. However, we have plugins, as we saw with the Heroku one. If I do, Buffalo -- help, I should have a couple plugins here. Right? Plugin tools for deploying helpers. I don't have any other plugins right now. So you could absolutely you could be the person who owns the Buffalo Mongo plugin that supports all this stuff, has nice generators and everything. It would be awesome, because I'm not doing it. Other questions? Right there.
Not so much a question, but could you just show us the console working?
Can I just show you? Sure. Yeah. The console is getting a big refresh. We're currently using a library called Gore, but what do we have? We have widgets, right? So I can say, models widget, and then models DB first W. There we go, and if I print off the widget, there we go. And then obviously I could update the widget, I could do whatever I want with the widget. But yeah, we've got a new console in the works that's gonna blow this away. And it's gonna also be standalone too, so you could use it in your own projects, not just Buffalo projects. But yeah, Gore you can currently do that, but we can't control it programmatically, and that's our big downside with it. But yeah, this is really cool. That's one of my favorite parts, and so many people don't even realize it's there. Yeah, cool. I think we got one more question. Time for one more. Right over there. Wait for the mic.
Thank you, Mark. Nice talk.
Thank you.
So how can we collaborate? What is a feature that you need to implement or something that you wish you have but you don't have time to do it?
Ooh, what's the feature I wish we had but I don't have time to do? Oh God, I don't know. There's a lot. We're not there yet. We're not at 1.0, and that's important to know. I don't have a good answer for you, honestly, because there's a lot of things I would like to see. More database support, MySQL, Oracle, any of those things are always awesome. More plugins for deploying to tools like GAE or other, Azure, whatever. Like, I'd love to see plugins for that stuff. But just on the 1.0 front, we're at 0.93, came out this week. We're not going to 1.0 anytime soon. And that's not because we're afraid, but because we want to have the same compatibility promise that Go has. So once we hit 1.0, we are going to stay with that implementation forever. Well, not forever, till 2.0. But we don't want to make 2.0 like 3 weeks later, right? We want you to have stable applications. With that said, Buffalo, the 0.9.0 range has been incredibly stable. Between upgrades, almost nothing has changed that you've needed to tweak. So right now, if you go from 0.8 to 0.9, for example, there are some changes there, but they weren't even that steep, actually. So we're definitely leveling off. Yeah. Cool, I think that's all I have time for. Thank you very much. Come find me for stickers and magnets.